Hi everyone, this is Crystal. Welcome back to Jolie Knots Crochet. Today we're going to be making this Bohemian style adult vest. This vest that we're making today is going to be a size large, extra large. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can get the newest notifications on the newest tutorials just released. The yarn that we're using today is going to be Lion's brand Summer Nights. The color I'm using is Wildflower. This yarn is a super fine one weight yarn. The recommended hook size is a 3.5 millimeter, but I'm going to go ahead and use 2 strands. So this yarn is from Ice Yarns. It is 100% cotton, and it's a 2-weight yarn. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment, let me know what kind of tutorials you'd like to see in the future, and we'll see what we can make happen. So getting started, we're going to take a slip knot on our hook, and we are going to chain 3. We're going to put a double crochet into that first chain. Now we're going to chain 3, turn your work, put another double crochet, put a double crochet into that space that you just created. And that is what we're going to do all the way to the end. This is our starting chain, only it's not really a chain. They're starting spaces. I'm not a big fan of starting chains, so now that you've got 11, you're going to chain 2 and put a double crochet into this last space made, and then another double crochet. Every one of these spaces that we've just created as our starting chain are going to get 2 double crochets. So we've reached the end now. We're going to put our last 2 double crochets that are going to go into that last space, and then we're going to add 1 more double crochet into that starting chain. This is how your work should look. You should have 2 double crochets into each space, and then 3 double crochets at the end, 2 in the space and then 1 into the last chain. Now for your next row, we're going to chain 3. We're going to double crochet into the first space, double crochet into the next. So you should have chain 3, double crochet into your next stitch, and then double crochet into the stitch after that. So we'll have 3 double crochets. We're going to chain 1, skip 1 stitch, double crochet in the next. And that is going to be our repeat all the way to the end until you have 3 stitches left. Now that we're at our last 3 stitches, we're going to make sure that we have a double crochet in each of the last 3 stitches. This is the first row of our repeat. The second row of our repeat are going to be a series of puff stitches. So we're going to chain 3, turn your work, double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So again, we'll have 3 double crochets in the beginning, and we'll have 3 double crochets in the end. Into your spaces, we're going to be making a series of puff stitches. So yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop. We're going to do that 3 times. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all of them but the last one. Yarn over and pull through the last loop, the last 2. and then chain 1 for space, and we're going to add another puff stitch, 2, 3 yarn overs, pull through all but the last loop, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, we're going to do that all the way to the end, and then we are going to end again with 3 double crochets, just like we did on this side. All right, now that we've gotten to the end, we're not going to chain 1 for space. Going straight from the puff stitch, we're going to put our 3 double crochets. Okay, and this is what your work should look like. This is the second row of your repeat. Your third row is going to be a repeat of your fillet row. Only instead of working into the double crochets, we're going to be working into the spaces between the puff stitches. So we're going to chain 3, double crochet into the first stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip your puff stitch, double crochet into the space between, chain 1, skip your puff stitch, double crochet into your space between. That's your repeat to the end. When you get to the end of this row, our last double crochet, chain 1, we're skipping this puff stitch, but then we're working 3 double crochets right into the end. Chain 1, skip your puff stitch, and work a double crochet on each of the next 3 stitches. Just like that. Now our next row is going to be a series of X stitches. So we're going to chain 6, turn your work, and we're going to put a double treble into the second stitch. That's yarning over 3 times, working into that stitch, yarn over, pull through 2, 4 times. All right, starting on our X stitches, the way that we're going to make these is you're going to yarn over 4 times. You're going to stick your hook into the next double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Then you're going to yarn over again, skip a chain space, working into the next double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 3. Essentially what we've just created is a double crochet 2 together, leaving 4 loops on our hook. Now we're going to finish out a treble crochet. 1, 2, 3. Chain 1. And how we're going to complete this X stitch is we are going to yarn over and we're going to make a double crochet. We are going to go right underneath the bottom 2 loops right above your double crochet 2 together. That's where we're making our double crochet. And this is what our stitch will look like. Okay, so we yarned over 4 times. made a partial double crochet into this stitch, a partial double crochet into this one, and created a double crochet two together, completed a treble crochet, chained one, and then double crocheted into the middle of this stitch. Placement for this is really going to be placement for your double crochet is going to help to stretch your stitch out. So let me show you again. We're going to go over that and exactly how to do it. Next, we're going to put a double treble into the next space. Just like that. Now we're going to make another X stitch. And to do that, remember we're yarning over 4 times, creating double crochet 2 together into the next 2 double crochets, skipping that chain space. So there's 1, and there's 2, yarning over it, pulling through 3. I like to move my yarn along with my hook because I don't want it to separate and get all loose here and have really loose stitches. We want them to be tighter so they're more well defined. Now we're completing a treble, chaining 1, and we're yarning over and sticking our hook underneath the top 2 loops. This looks like 4 because I'm carrying 2 strands, but it's the top 2 loops right above your double crochet 2 together. And then we're going to complete a double crochet. Double treble into the next chain space. So what we're going to have is an X stitch and then a double treble in between. Let me show you one more time. Yarn over 4 times. Double crochet 2 together over the next 2 double crochets. Yarn over, pull through the last 3 to complete your double crochet 2 together. With 4 loops on our hook, we're yarning over and we're taking off 2 at a time. That's completing a treble. Chain 1, double crochet underneath these bottom 2 loops. Double treble into the next chain space. Now that we've gotten to the end of our row, we're going to put 2 double trebles into each, 1 double treble into the next stitch and 1 double treble into the last stitch. So let's yarn over 3 times and a double treble into each stitch. This concludes your 5th row. Row 2, 3, 4, and 5 are your repeat rows. For the length, you're going to want to measure the bottom here will be stopping in the back wherever you'd like to measure, and then here is where you're going to stop underneath your armpit. So let me show you what I've got. Alright, so this is the one I've made. It is a size extra large approximately. The bust on this one is approximately 40 inches. Okay, getting started on the side panels. This one's going to be my right front panel. You're also going to have your left front panel. One side's going to stay completely straight. This will be your armpit side, and we're going to begin to decrease. We'll be decreasing by 1 stitch for your fillet and your puff rows and 2 stitches for your flat X row. Okay, so now this is a size large, extra large, and I've counted 14 squares all the way across, and I put my stitch marker into the top of my double crochet after my 14th square. All right, we're going to start with a standing double crochet, and we're going to work this puff stitch this puff row the normal way we would be working the remainder of our puff rows without a decrease. So go ahead and do your puff chain ones and puffs all the way to the end. All right, and we've got our 3 double crochets at the end, just like normal. Chain 3, turn your work, double crochet into the next 2 stitches, chain 1, skip the puff, double crochet. Okay, now that we're at our decrease side, how we're going to work our decreases is we're going to be skipping 1 stitch right before our last 3 double crochets. Let me show you. So here we would typically have our double crochet, chain 1, and then go 3 double crochets. We're not going to do that. We're going to go straight from our double crochet, skipping the puff stitch, and then double crocheting into the last 3 stitches. Just like that. So we're chaining 6 for our flat X stitch row. So we've got our chain 6 here. We're going to put our double treble into the next stitch, just like that. We're going to put another double treble into this first open space. So these 2 are 2 double crochets right next to each other. We're going to skip those 2 and put another double treble right into that first open window, just like that. And now we're going to work our flat X stitches just normal, wrapping 4, go ahead and work your flat X stitches all the way across. Come back through with a fillet row just like this, and I will show you how to decrease again when we get to that end. Okay, so we've got into the decrease side of our panel. Remember, we are skipping 1 stitch per puff stitch and fillet row. So how that's going to work out here is I've got my double crochet, chain 1, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left that we would normally work into. The stitch we would normally work into is the top of this X stitch. We're going to skip that and we're going to go straight into our 3 double crochets. Just like that. to decrease in our puff row, we're going to go ahead and chain 3, turn our work, go ahead and get our first 2 double crochets in there, and we're skipping one. Remember, typically we would go straight into a puff stitch right here, but instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, skip this stitch, skip this a double crochet, so we're skipping 2, and then we're going to puff stitch into the next one. Okay, so go ahead and work your regular puff stitch row going down, coming back with your fillet row, and we'll meet back here at this decrease. Alright, here we are coming back to our decrease side in our fillet row. So what we're doing here is we've got 1 puff stitch, 1 space, and 3 double crochets. We're going to get rid of a puff stitch. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1, skip this space here, and put 3 double crochets into the last 3 double crochets. Just like so. Alright, getting started on our X stitch row, we're chaining 6, turning our work, and we're going to go ahead and put our double treble into the first stitch. Alright, and how we're going to work our now X stitch row is we're going to skip this double crochet and this space and work our X stitch rows as usual. So yarn over 4, and we are going into this first double crochet separated from our 3 double crochet border. Okay, so here we are on the decrease side of our fillet row. We are decreasing by 1 stitch, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. What we're going to do is not chain 1. Don't put that space, and then we'll put our 3 double crochets. So we're decreasing 4 stitches, turning it into 3. Alright, chain 3, turn your work, and to decrease on this side, we're putting our 2 double crochets. In here, we have 1 double crochet next to that. So typically we would chain 1 and then put a puff stitch, but we're not going to chain 1. We're going to go straight into the puff stitch, skipping that double crochet. By now, you should have learned how to do your decreases. Go ahead and continue your decreases until you've got Go ahead and continue your decreases until you've got 1, 2, 3 X stitch rows. And here's what your shoulder piece will look like. Make the other side the exact same. You're ending on a fillet row. I will meet you back here when this side and this side are the same, and we will be working on the back panel. Okay, so I have now completed both of my panels. Both of them are continuing straight on one side and decreasing on the other side. After my 3 flat X stitches, I did put a fillet row, puff, fillet, puff, fillet. Now, I'm kind of tall for a girl, so if you're shorter, you can skip out on those last two rows, which is that puff row and the fillet row. So depending on your size, you want this to get to the top of your shoulder, and then right here where we've split it, where it's more comfortable for you, I'm going, I don't know, maybe a hand's length underneath my armpit. Okay, so getting started on our back panel, I'm going to count over 3 windows. Starting with the standing double crochet, I'm going to double crochet on top. Oops. I am going to double crochet on top of the double crochet. Double crochet in the space, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Now we're going to do our regular old puff stitch. This is just going to be a regular row with no decreasing, and we are going to do that until we get to this spot on the other side. So making sure that you have 3 windows and ending your last double crochet on top of the last double crochet before your 3 windows. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back at this side. Okay, so here we are at the end of the puff row for the back panel. Now what we're going to do with the back panels, we're going to decrease on both sides. Both sides we are going to decrease. Okay, so both sides we're decreasing, but remember we're keeping our 3 double crochets. We're decreasing by 1 stitch for each puff row and fillet row, and 2 stitches for each flat X stitch. So along the same length as this one, that's the same spot you're going to stop off for the back. So go ahead and do that, come back, we'll sew them both together. Okay, here we are at the top of the back panel. Mine is 14 inches wide, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 windows with your 3 double crochets on the outside. Now, in order to get it the same length as the panels, the front panels, I am going to need to put 2 more rows, but I'm not going to decrease in my last 2 rows. Now, if you are shorter and you're leaving off these last 2 rows, then you're just going to stop right here and not do anything else. Now, if you're shorter and you're not going to do these last 2 rows, all you're going to do is go ahead and single crochet all the way across, and then we'll sew them together. So let me go ahead and finish my last 2 rows without decreasing, and I will meet you back here to crochet them together. Okay, now I've got my last 2 rows, and I'm going to single crochet all the way across the top. Okay, now that I've got my single crochets across the top, I am going to put my panels together. Now I left myself a long tail so I can sew that up together. Alright, so to sew our panels together, we're simply going to go through 1 stitch on this side, 1 stitch on the next side, and back around. 1 stitch on this side, 1 stitch on the next side, Okay, so I am putting fringe on mine, and to put fringe on, I have cut my pieces into about 9 inches long, and I'm putting 3 sets. So 3 cotton natural colors and then 3 of the multicolors. I'm going to fold that in half. Take my crochet hook and go from the back. This is the back of my work. This is the front of my work. I'm going to go from the back, pull through my tassel and over. And that's it. I'm going to do that all the way across. So 3 and 3. And then after, of course, you can go back and trim your fringe up to be even how you like it. And that's all you're going to do, all the way across the bottom. And you will keep going. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me a comment for anything else that you'd like to see or a tutorial. And I hope you enjoyed this video.